We'll call the Tuesday, July 7th, 2026 Williams County Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. Beth, please call roll.
Barry?
Here.
Steve?
Here.
Bo is absent today. Chris?
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. We'll proceed. If everybody please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, it brings us to item C on the agenda, which is the consent agenda. Is there any questions from the board, or what are the wishes?
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Discussion. Roll call, please.
Barry?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item D is public comment. If you have a comment that we'd like to address the board with that isn't on the agenda further down, now is the time. Not seeing anyone racing to the mic, so we will close the public comment. Planning and zoning.
Good morning, Michelle Haugen with County Planning. This morning we have LU-0047-26, which is Adam Brunel, who is requesting a variance from the section line setback within the rural residential zoning district. This is located in MS 19-0055, which is in the northeast of the southeast of section 34, township 154 north, range 100 west, being Stony Creek Township. The township has recommended approval on this item. The applicant is requesting a variance from the section line setback requirements within the rural residential zoning district. The setback from the section line or the center line of the road easement of a designated county, state, or township road is 133 feet. The applicant's variance request is for a reduction to 43 feet from the required 133. The reduction in building setbacks are for a proposed 60 by 100 shop to be built on the subject property. With the terrain of the parcel, there is minimal ideal buildable areas. This request does not qualify for the county administrative variance process as the setback reduction is greater than the 25% allowable during that process. Access to the subject property is taken off of 132nd Road Northwest. When Planning and Zoning heard this item, they did recommend approval.
Okay, any questions? Is the applicant present? I guess I have a question that's probably doesn't make any sense, but the planning and zoning recommendations said adhere to the Williams County zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations. Aren't we looking to change that?
Yeah, it's just a generic one that we put in for all of them.
Okay, I mean, because that's what this is about, is to change the ordinance. Okay, thanks. What are the wishes?
Move to approve following staff comments.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Discussion? Roll call, please.
Steve?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, so this next one is LU-0021-26, which is Michael Horeb. They are requesting an amendment to Chapter 6-10-10.2 of the Williams County Zoning Ordinance and Subdivision Regulations. The applicant is requesting an amendment to the Williams County Zoning Ordinance and Subdivision Regulations, specifically relating to Chapter 6-10, which is wind energy facilities. Currently, the zoning ordinance states in 6-10-10.2, all wind turbines shall be set back from existing structures 1,400 feet. A variance for setback may be granted by the Board of County Commissioners upon recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission, provided the permittee and affected landowner sign a waiver agreement. At the April 16th, 2026 Planning and Zoning meeting, this item was tabled and a motion was made for a committee to be formed to look at and discuss the distance being requested and the language to be used. After discussion with legal counsel, we brought the formation of the committee back in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission at the May 21st meeting to be officially formed, including a date, time, and location for the meeting, as well as committee members and a designated individual to take minutes. The committee consisted of 6 individuals and met on June 1st. After discussion, the committee is proposing that 6-10-10.2 be changed to read: all wind turbines shall be set back 1 mile from occupied and unoccupied farmsteads and homes, either full-time or seasonal, with the applicant or permittee. The applicant or the permittee must provide proof of due diligence in working with landowners within the project scope to identify the aforementioned farmsteads and homes. A variance for setback may be granted by the Board of County Commissioners upon recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission, provided the permittee and affected landowner sign a waiver agreement. On June 18th, when Planning and Zoning heard this recommendation, they did recommend to approve it.
Okay, is the applicant present? Have anything you want to add? No. Is there anybody else that wants to address this? And John, you can come on up. I'll just talk while you're coming up. Just so everybody's aware, this is for future wind towers. This has nothing to do with the stuff that's already been approved. That's all done. But if you have something to address, please introduce yourself for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. John McMaster of Williston. I'm a senior citizen, lifetime resident of Williams County, and a retired attorney. I'm here on my own behalf. My family, including my parents, have owned a farm at the north side of Bold Butte Township since the 1940s. And I guess it's McMaster Farms West. I would be a participating landowner if we were talking about the existing application that was approved last January. Our family signed a lease with Homestead Wind. But in looking at future wind development here in Williams County, that's basically the issue here. And the existing setback is 1,400 feet from existing structures. The proposed change is to make this a 1 mile setback. And mathematically, if you divide 5,280 feet in 1 mile by the 1,400, you're proposing a 377% increase in the setback. In my view, this change will effectively kill any further wind power projects in Williams County. I had done quite a study on my own in preparation for the hearing of the Homestead Wind project, and concluded that there were several advantages in harnessing wind power in this area. And I'm not going to go into that, but on the setback, I'm wondering what makes our county so different from other jurisdictions. And I've done my research on the internet at home. So I want you to know that, but there's a lot of material on the internet. And the common standard that I could find is that the setback from residences is from 1,000 feet to 1,500 feet across the country. We're all facing changes today. This to me is a very drastic change, and I don't feel enough work has gone into this proposed ordinance change to make your vote valid based on all the evidence. I have an exhibit which I'll give to Beth for the record, but this was a February 2023 report of turbines in North Dakota. And at that time, there were 2,159 turbines in service. All of the projects at that time are listed, either completed or applications pending. So that's quite a few turbines, but for example, I went over and found some of the leading counties. Barnes County had a project with 131 turbines. Griggs County one with 80. Burley County 64. Stutzman County 100. Emmons County 102. And the Aurora project in Williams County 121. But I'm curious, what are the setbacks in similar ordinances in those counties? We don't know that, or maybe somebody else does, but I don't know it. I couldn't find that out from just searching the internet. I have another report from USGS, one page, more current, the fourth quarter of 2025 across the country and in Guam and Puerto Rico, there's 77,379 turbines working. Setbacks on all of those, I don't know what they are, but I have to assume they're probably within that common standard. And then I have a third report I found interesting. The top 10 states that generate electricity from wind. Texas, of course, is way ahead of everybody else. And the states are listed, but North Dakota is the number 8 state as far as a percentage of its electrical generation. And you look at the list, I would say Texas is 1, Iowa 2, Kansas 3, or 4 rather, Illinois 5, North Dakota is 8. All of those are ag states, so they'd be comparable to North Dakota. But in any event, rather than changing by increasing that setback 377%, I'd like you to consider a lesser amount. Some of the states use the height of the power turbines and multiply that by 1.1. That's one standard that's used. Just there are other standards other than just raw foot setback. The second problem I have with your proposed ordinance is the language that's used. The previous or the existing language uses the setback from existing structures. This new language opens up a whole can of worms. Occupied and unoccupied farmsteads and homes, either full-time or seasonal, seems to place a burden on the applicant to use due diligence in finding out who has what out there. In the testimony that was given at the planning board, one gentleman mentioned he had 3 residences on his farm. One he was living in, the other 2 weren't lived in, but he was wanting to bring his family in there to live. Well, that's fine, but you look at the countryside, you see a lot of dilapidated homesteads that have a brand new home right next to them. Anyway, that language, it seems to be, why are we deviating from what we've already got? the existing structures. So basically, I think you're premature in considering this ordinance and passing it. I think you need more information. And in effect, what you're doing is you're killing any future wind development in Williams County. Why would a company want to come out here and spend millions of dollars on a project that would bring in electrical power and business for us when they could go somewhere else nearby and be treated a lot more fairly? There are other ways you could do this. You could put this on a hold by suspending any applications that come in. I don't know of any right now, but there might be some others coming in the near future. By delaying this, you're going to set this process back, I would imagine, several months if you want to do a decent job of research and come up with data which is much more reliable than whatever data this committee used to come up with the 1 mile. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you, John. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Please come up and introduce yourself.
James Horb, and I'd be in favor of this ordinance changing from 1,400 feet to 1 mile. I guess it's no secret that these wind farms that are currently in the county have turned neighbor against neighbor up north. I think that this 1 mile setback kind of keeps neighbors more neighborly, and it'll keep more peace in the county. And you guys should start thinking more about your neighbors that live in the country than people that live in the city that'll never have a wind tower within 1 mile of their house. So we would be in favor of this 1 mile setback. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Kurt Andrew, Williams County resident. I'm a property rights guy, and this concerns me if we're going to go down this road. I have a well site 600 feet from my property, and I tried to, the landowners, who are my neighbors and are good people, we sat down and visited, and we couldn't get it changed. And I said, okay, because it was their property, I was okay with it. And I guess from a turbine to a well site, air quality is, I changed the way I operated. I changed what I did on that property because of the well site. And my concern is probably going to pass. But where are we going to property rights? There's some people who called me and asked me, I have a quarter of a land within a mile of somebody's residence. That revenue's gone. Potential revenue is gone. So 1 mile seems larger than I would prefer, but I'm not. And I understand what Jim is saying. But is there something we can do to get along? I mean, I got accosted in the Nampa parking lot because I'm in favor of this. Okay. I had nothing to say other than I'm in favor of it. And if we're going to eliminate, because we're close to eliminate, I would assume, I don't know enough about this. I just think I'm a tiny farmer who's close to retirement. And I'll be honest with you, it will generate a little more income. There are some older people who are around the Tioga area, kind of would hoping for an expansion there and things. So I know you guys got a tough decision. You're going to irritate no matter who. And I know this is for future, but I just hope everything is worked out. It's discussed, and I'm concerned with the 1 mile. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm Michael Hord. I mean, the 1 mile setback, but that doesn't stop if somebody, they want to put a project in, from having the wind tower company go to the people, if they get in the area, to ask for a variance to be closer. I mean, this is kind of more to protect the ones who don't want to be in it. Doesn't mean they can't ask for a variance to change it when they come in and put that upon the wind power company to do more work and ask those people. So it still could be, worked one way or the other.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Anyone else for the second time? And see no one, anyone else? We will close this public part of it and turn it over to the board. Any questions from the commission? Comments?
I'd move to deny this proposed change on the grounds that this is wholly ambiguous with an unoccupied structure. It's not well defined. And from the fact that we're taking a 1,400-foot setback, which removes roughly 141 acres of land around the single structure, to over 2,000 acres if we were to move it to 5,280 feet of setback. So based on the ambiguity of the unoccupied structure, as well as the incredible increase in the setback, I would make that motion.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second? Is there a second to the motion? Third and final time, is there a second to the motion?
I'd second that for discussion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Yeah, when we went through that committee meeting, I mean, we hashed it out pretty well, and I at first I had the same opinion as like, what does that mean? But it, like he was saying, if you have a smaller chunk of land that you would like to get involved in a project like this, I mean, you still can if you're willing to have a turbine closer than that mile. You can it can happen, right? I mean, you can get it back to that 1,400 feet if you are okay with it. But the fella that isn't, there's nobody sticking up for him, and having John's comment about the putting extra work on the applicant. Well, that's only proper, because why would somebody that's not even involved in it, wants to stay uninvolved with it, why should you put the work on him? If the person that wants this project, he's the one that's supposed to be doing the footwork. That's my way of looking at it.
Well, and I have a question, and it's probably a legal question. Maybe I didn't read it right, but Karen, so where it says 1 mile from occupied or unoccupied farmsteads and homes, either full-time or seasonal, I guess I took that as being, if it's seasonal and unoccupied, it still counts, not just an unoccupied farmstead, because I don't think that's necessarily right. But if it's unoccupied at the time, that's the way I read it, and maybe I'm wrong. Am I off?
I don't know. I wasn't part of the discussion or the committee meeting, and so I really don't know what the committee intended by that, really. So, I mean, I guess if it's not clear about what we intended, it's going to be interpreted how this board thinks it should be interpreted, really. So,
I mean, that was in my mind when we sat in the committee meeting and decided it, that it wasn't just every unoccupied farmstead in all of Williams County. It was occupied or unoccupied, full-time or seasonal, meaning if they were gone for the winter, and a company came in, they didn't get to just blow past that one because somebody's coming back to stay there.
Yeah, I'll go back to the property rights perspective, and I don't disagree. I think that's a clever way to handle it by suggesting that if people want to opt in, they can. But you've already set the stage for making it really difficult. If I want to be a participant and I happen to live next door to you, Barry, but my land doesn't go beyond 5,280 feet of a radius, then I'm automatically out, unless my neighbor decides he wants to give a setback.
Well, I agree. There's going to be some overlap here, but when you the property rights, I will argue the same point that I don't want to be. I have property, and my property rights say I don't have to be. So, I think there's going to be a shadow overlay here, right? So,
Yeah, the other problem I have is I think the energy side of it. What's the minimum setback for an oil well? Is it
You'd have to
500?
call the state. They kind of run their own show and they don't let us help.
Exactly. So yeah, they get to pick it, but you can end up with an oil well a lot closer than you can with a wind turbine, and the oil well is going to have a flare. And I had a well within a quarter mile of me, and they had a new valve system on the gas flow, and it literally created an earthquake. I mean, I have a video and it's on the internet, and it literally shows the house shaking. So anyway, that's where I have a tough time. If I don't have an oil well on my land, but I got an opportunity to have a wind turbine, I don't get that opportunity because my neighbor doesn't want it.
I support the spirit of this amendment. I think I would like more definition as to unoccupied structure. Does that mean maybe unoccupied residence would be a more accurate term? A barn, an outhouse, is that an unoccupied structure? What's the definition of that? I think the challenge, Steve, where we're coming into this is on property rights. Generally, I mean, throughout our history, we've dealt with property rights on a horizontal plane. Now we're dealing with something on a vertical access, and so it's a little different challenge on this. I think that's maybe where some of the heartburn is on it.
Okay. Any other comments? Questions? Okay, so we have a motion to deny with a second. We will call for a roll call vote.
Corey,
No.
Chris,
No.
Barry,
no,
Steve,
Yes.
Motion failed. I think there was some good points brought up though, and possibly we need to define that unoccupied structure a little more, and unless us just saying it does that. That was my question.
yeah, I guess I'm just a way in here. I was under the same impression. I thought we had it kind of hammered out, really, but
Yeah, I guess if you want a specific definition for unoccupied structure, you should maybe make that a part of that ordinance, or you should include a definition of that in our definition sections in the zoning ordinances also. So, I mean, you can always just table this and have them fix that, or
Cameron, you got anything there?
Yeah, two things. The first one, Commissioner Wall said, the proposed language does say 1 mile from occupied and unoccupied farmsteads and homes, not just structures. So it does define the exact type of structure we were looking at, and just a proposal to clean up some of the language. If the concern is farmsteads that have been lived in 40 or 50 years, this commission could certainly tweak the language to something proposed as far as 1 mile from occupied and seasonally occupied farmsteads and homes, and completely remove the unoccupied language, and we don't have to go into changing definitions.
I think that, and I think that's what that's the way when we talked about it, that's what I thought we were trying to do, in the committee meeting. So that would make me feel a lot better to say, because unoccupied, I read it now and it's like, well, it could be anything.
I just wonder if we should go back to committee for clearer definition. I appreciate that, Cameron. Thank you so much for defining that. I just want to dot the i's and cross the t's, because if somebody wants to argue this from a legal standpoint, Karen could speak to it. It probably would need more definition.
I agree, and I think it opens us up immediately to litigation on that fact.
Well, I guess, with what Cameron read there, I don't see where there, I mean, that clears it up for, I guess, from my point of view, but.
Yeah. Cameron, could you restate that again, please?
And this is just my thoughts of how it could be worded, is to provide all wind turbines shall be set back 1 mile from occupied and seasonally occupied farmsteads and homes, instead of the word unoccupied farmsteads and homes.
Define seasonally occupied. Could be one day.
This is where
If you sleep overnight in it.
This is where I'd lean to the board to make that decision.
That's my point. I think this needs a lot more clarity.
So if we were to make a motion to approve that, including the language you just stated, we can do that, correct?
Absolutely. We can add or subtract and do it in the motion.
Well, I would make that motion to approve having the language that Cameron just stated added.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay. It's moved and seconded. Open to discussion from the board.
I would love to see seasonally occupied defined, because I think that's a loophole.
So what kind of
Are you thinking of the time frame?
Yeah,
well,
like
that's what I
a
mean,
summer
like, what
occupied.
would
Like if you go
like,
south for the winter, that's fair. But if you go and occupy that building for one day, that's suddenly occupied
So-
seasonally.
So if we were to
but it-
add and say 3 months,
But to occupy it, it would have to be, I mean, obviously there'd have to be a certificate of occupancy. I mean, it'd have to be up to code or correct. I mean, you can't just go throw a cot in a barn and sleep there 2 nights and call it seasonal, right? I mean, I was just curious as to, I mean, I'm not trying to argue the point, but what would be the definition of that? I don't.
Well, we're occupying this space right now, and we do it twice a month. You know what I mean? Occupied is, I'm struggling with that. If you put up a house on a farmstead, does it have to be, it would have had to have a seal at one point, but it could have been 100 years ago.
Yeah, that'd be correct. Some of the older farmsteads, we're not going to have any COs for those because of the time frame when they were built. But typically, yeah, they would need some sort of utility hookup, whether that's electrical, water, and then they would have a septic system. This board could certainly look at also adding seasonally occupied as a definition with this ordinance, since we can include that as well into our definitions.
so you're saying instead of changing it there, we would make an amendment to what seasonally occupied is?
Well, currently that's not a definition at all in our ordinance. So if this board were to change the language to show occupied and seasonally occupied, it may be more of a legal question, but I believe this board could also add a definition of seasonally occupied. So not only would this change the wind definition in our or the wind energy ordinance, but it would also add a definition into our ordinance to actually describe what this board's intent is by saying seasonally occupied through a definition.
Are we just getting too far into the weeds here? Because I really thought coming into this, I thought we had it squared away. I thought. I did. I don't know if, you know, we're worrying about a boogeyman that's not never, you know, if it's never going to show up, then, you know, but we just get
But
deeper into the,
I think it just is another opportunity for our residents to fight. Like you could have a hunter house out there. It's seasonally occupied during hunting season. And I think that it's just one more opportunity for them to all be fighting with each other. If we're not clear, if we don't present a ironclad, very well defined solution to this, we have just created a fight in the opposite direction that we did when in January. So now it's just going to go the other way. So I think the best solution is to table it and define some of these terms a little better, and before we make this huge change. It's literally going over 2,000 acres of protected area if you want it protected versus 141 acres.
How did you get that number, Steve? Because I'm not following 2,000 acres.
If you do a circumference around a proposed wind turbine location, it equates to 2,010 acres of 1 mile in every direction. Whereas a 1,400-foot setback removes roughly 141 acres. So that's dramatic. Yeah.
So I guess we have a motion and a second, with a little bit of a tweak. So we either need to approve or deny that. And if we were to approve it, we could go in and do an amendment or a definition of what seasonal occupied means, or we could deny it, and then we'd have to come back with whether we're going to table it, whether we're going to, but I think at this point we need to decide on the motion that's on the floor. So is there any more comments about that? No comments? I don't see anybody reaching for their buttons. Seems to me I always end up pushing the button and talking too much.
Like you said, we could deny this, table it, send it back to committee and ask for clear definition in residence.
Yeah, I would appreciate that.
We could, but I can tell you right now that there's two of us on the committee that are looking at that, saying that's a really pretty good definition. I mean, I'm just being honest with the way I look at it. That's starting to define it. Now, do we need to add a time frame? Maybe, and that can be added right now if we want.
So the area is pi r squared.
so if on this motion, if for the seasonal, what kind of a time frame would, I'm literally like, what do you think? Like,
to me, that is
the summer months or
right,
something? Or?
If you go south for the winter, that's fair. That's a seasonally occupied house. Seasonally occupied hunter shack, disqualified. Seasonally occupied outhouse, disqualified. That's my. There's a lot of ambiguity, and frankly, when you ask that question, how did you get that number? That tells me that maybe you guys didn't understand the true impact of this when you had that committee meeting. And I'm not picking on you, but 2,010 acres is a massive amount of area. So yeah, anyway, that's my point.
You could put occupancy at 90 days, something like that.
So would that have to be included now, or is that something that we can, can we do that after that, or after this motion, or does it got to be included in this now? Or?
I guess to not confuse things, I think you already have a motion before the board. that includes the language that Cameron, should really vote on that motion. And then if you want to make another motion to add a definition of seasonal, then I would recommend you do that. So it's sort of more of a clear cut rather than amending the current motion, and it just gets a little bit jumbled really. So that would be my recommendation really. So.
Okay. Any other comments? Pat, I think we're going to do a vote. You got the motion? All right, let's do a roll call.
Chris,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Steve,
No,
Corey,
Yes, motion carried. Now, do we want to more clearly define that and put a definition in for the seasonally occupied?
I see Cameron scrambling to find verbiage on occupancy.
No, I was just double checking to make sure it is definitely not in our definitions, and Michelle checked as well. But as far as how this board will define it, we can certainly add that in there.
Can the public have an input on the seasonal?
Okay, so if I may add, I'm going to backtrack a little bit here because we do have some definitions that we were not aware of. Occupancy permanent, use or habitation of a structure or premises on a basis exceeding 180 consecutive days. Occupancy temporary, use or habitation of a structure or premises on a basis of 180 consecutive days or less. So those two are defined in there. Now, of course, the language that this board had based on my recommendation was seasonally or seasonal occupancy. So there are some rough definitions in there for permanent and temporary occupancy. I was looking for seasonal, which was not in our definition.
well, here's one option: a permanent structure designed and intended for human habitation that is occupied for intermittent periods during the year, which possesses active and connected utilities, electricity, and an approved water sanitation system, is assessed as a residential structure for property tax purposes, and is maintained in a safely habitable condition.
It's pretty close to what old Claude brought up, so it's not real far off from what I saw. But that I was thinking the same thing, because the only thing I saw was a structure not occupied year round, but used for recreation, vacation, or part of the year residence, i.e., cabins, hunting camps, lake cottages, summer homes. So, I think how do you want to proceed with that? I know you memorized all that we just said, Barry. You want to put that together in one or two quick sentences? Use it. I like that because it says it's habitable, and I just like saying habitable.
Okay, well, I'm making a motion to define seasonally occupied dwelling, a permanent structure designed, and I'll send this to you, Beth, a permanent structure designed and intended for human habitation that is occupied or for intermittent periods during the year, which possesses active and connected utilities, electricity, and an approved water sanitation system, is assessed as a residential structure for property tax purposes, and is maintained in a safely habitable condition.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Barry,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Motion carried. Okay, anything else, Michelle? All right, we're going to move on to item F, report of departments. I don't see any. Is there anybody that needs to talk to the board while we're here? Seeing nobody. Helen, looks like it's up to you.
Good morning. Right, you have a staff report in front of you. We have transition coming in the treasurer recorder's office. Our treasurer recorder, Patty Ogerchuk, is retiring at the end of her term, and we do have one person from the office running for that position. And so in the coming year, there will be some transition in their department. In addition, we've had a part-time person who worked remotely to do indexing retire. And we have had a resignation, somebody who's going on to a different job. And so in talking to Patty and Terry, it was our determination that we'd like to fill not just the resignation that we have, but a second position, which would in essence be the Patty position that's going to get opened up. But just because they're in the midst of transition right now, they're without this part-time position, and they have somebody who will have some medical leave coming up as well. It just felt like if we're going to get out there and advertise and they're going to do a training effort, it would make sense to do it all at once right now. There is money in the budget to be able to cover what is a little bit of an unusual change here for us. But by the time the Century Code, I think it's May 1st that the treasurer recorders transition happens. So by May 1st, we'll be back down to the expected number of people in positions in that department, but we'll just run a little bit heavy here for a few months just to give them time to train, and also because they'll be losing some experience, the longer we can get people going before Patty leaves, the better. So there's two treasurer recorder, they're called deputy treasurer recorders. They do work on related to both functions of the department. And then we have a adolescent care attendant and a maintenance technician as well open right now. So permission to fill all four of those, please.
I'd move to fill these 4 positions.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Steve,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, and then we do have the school district annexation. I have dots here because it gets too long. Reorganization board. Barb Grev serves in seat 3. Her term was up the 30th of June. We advertised that position, didn't get any outside interest, but Barb is interested in serving again. So asking that you reappoint her to a new term, 7/1/26 to 6/30 of 2031.
I would make a motion to approve Barb Grev to seat 3 for the district or annexation board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Corey,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, that's all I have unless you have any questions for me.
Looks good. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
With that, we're at item H. We are adjourned.
Oh, should I sign my bill record? Sign my bill record. My little red book.